Hello. Hi everyone. Anyone in chat? Is the volume okay? Can anyone hear me? Testing, testing. Hey, Silver. Welcome, welcome. Is the music and the volume okay? Alright, so today we'll be doing some cloud studies. I have actually tried to paint a little bit earlier today just to warm up, and this is what I painted earlier. Let me pull up a screen here. I have collected a set of photos for reference on a Pinterest board. It should be in the descriptions of this video, and I think I have also posted it on my Discord. Okay, 1 second, I should post a go live announcement on Discord. Just 1 second. So today, we will be looking at all these fluffy clouds. And before we start to jump into the demo, the actual painting, I think it's actually necessary to just look at the references and analyze, to study the cloud a little bit before we actually jump into the action. And that's why I make this little image here with my ugly handwriting. But this is what we are going to look at, and we will be looking at shapes of the clouds, the perspective and the colors, and then we will do the demo. So let me just zoom this in a little bit. I will make this screen larger for now, as I want to draw over it. Oops. Okay. So first of all, let us look at the shapes of the cloud. You know, when we are drawing the clouds, one of the mistakes that we tend to make is we draw what we think the cloud looks like instead of what it actually looks like in real life. And here, if you have never actually looked at the cloud photos and really try to study it, we will be doing this together. So let me choose a pencil brush here, and I should be drawing here. Okay. you know, a lot of the time we'll just draw clouds like something like this. But then the problem is that this will look really flat, right? If you look at the photo here, let's look at this one. Choose a color. Choose a different color. Let's look at this one here. All right. You see there is actually a base in this cloud. All of these clouds. I'll try to, you know, draw it out. If you see it as a box, because everything could be put into a box, right? Here is the base of the cloud. Hello, Pro, how are you? Thank you for coming in to join us. We're trying to study the cloud and look at how we should draw these clouds. And I'm trying to analyze this cloud over here. So if you look at all of these, right, this is the shape of the cloud. But for every cloud, you can see there is a bottom part here. This is the shadow part. Same over here. Like here is the shadow part. And then this is the shape of the cloud. So it instead of looking like this, it will look something like this. Right. And actually we apart from the shape, so the shape usually the base is larger, and then it's more like a cone shape usually, but you should also consider this base here. And the reason that we are seeing the base here is because of the perspective. So again, right, the shape that we have just looked at, and now the perspective. Why is there a perspective? Why is perspective important, I should say. So let me draw some lines for you guys. The perspective lines. I should make this brush larger. Okay, so this is black color. This is the horizon, right? If you there is the vanishing point. Oops. Okay, now let's zoom in a little bit. You see, they actually follow the perspective lines here. And so the base here, I'm using a wrong brush. The base here, right? It gets smaller and smaller. Like the whole shape of the cloud gets smaller as it goes further. So these clouds, these two, which are closer to us, they are biggest. And when it gets closer to the horizon, it gets smaller and smaller. Look at all these. Right. They all follow the perspective. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? Or are you guys following? Okay, let me just erase them. Right. let me do it again here. So when you are painting clouds, these are the two things that you should have in mind, like the size and the shapes, which follows the the idea of perspective here. And let's look at another photo as an example. And you will find the same. You will find the same over at that photo as well. The shape looks a little bit different. This one looks more fluffy, right? But it's the same in a way that you can still see the bottom here. You see the bottom here, and it seems to be making like you can further break it down. So it's like a bunch of cotton balls stacked on each other, but each of them has their own bottom part. And these are the things that you should try to paint it out when you are painting. Again here, like the bottom part is usually larger in size, and that's how you can draw some realistic clouds. And so the first one here is the largest, is the closest to us, and then further away the cloud looks smaller. Each individual one, they will look smaller. Right. I keep drawing on the wrong window. If you are interested to look at these photos, click on the Pinterest board. Oops. So you see these at the side, they all follow the rule of perspective. Okay. So we have look at these two major factors briefly. Let me try to erase them. Oops. And I have collected other photos, so I'll show you another one here. Right, and you see the same principle applies. These are okay. The first two are the most simple landscape type of photos, where you can see mainly is the shape, and I mean, most part of the photo is about the clouds, and then you have some really simple foreground, and then these ones, they have a more complicated foreground or the main subject, like the windmill here and the house here. But then if you zoom into these clouds, right, you see the same principle again. You see these all these shapes here. There's a bottom part, which makes the cloud looks more 3D. And it gives the cloud more volume. These are the shadow part that you will have to have in mind and try to paint it out in your painting. This one again is the same rule that follows the perspective, right? Like like they get smaller and smaller as it goes. And the bottom part also change because like those closer to us, you can see more of the bottom part. And then it gets like smaller and smaller as well. Are you guys following what I'm trying to say here? No response at all. I hope this will actually helps to give you a better idea of how the shape would look like and the form would look like. And it is important to have these in mind when we do the painting. You might find these is it too how should I say it, too obvious? But actually these are some mistakes that people might make when they are painting. So this set of photo here that I have are more complicated landscapes, and because I want to show you how like these three sets of photos, right? The importance of cloud in these three sets are different. Like here, these two sets, the cloud is almost like the main subject, and then in here they are more like, especially this first one, they are more like the background. The focal point would be among the house or the windmill here, and this in this set of photos, the cloud is really as the background again, but you can see the different types here, and you can find the similarities as I mentioned. I think I can point out more on this one because you can, because of the perspective of this particular photo here, right? You can see the bottom even more clearly here. Change to the brush. Like this whole part here is the shadow part of the cloud. That's because the light is coming from above, right? And we are looking up. We are looking upward. These are our eyes. We are standing here. We are looking upward. So we are actually looking at all the bottoms of the clouds. And another point that we have to pay attention is this white area here between the cloud and the sky, where this part is where the light is hitting on. That's why there's a highlight here. It's the brightest here, right? But then the shadow part, usually the bottom part, is more the shape is not as clear. It's like the soft edges if you paint this part with watercolor, and this part with the highlight, you will need to paint it with the hard edges. Does that make sense to you guys? Right. So another thing that I wanted to point out is the study of the colors of these houses. So let's do this over again, over here. When painting the clouds, hey Taja, welcome. The sky is important. That's why I say when we are looking at the colors, we are not just looking at the colors of the cloud. We also need to pay attention to the colors of the sky. And in a lot of the actually I'm mainly focusing on the sunny day. The demo that we'll be doing will be mainly about a sunny day. For stormy day and sunset or magic moment, I will show you some photos, but then you can see it's quite different. Like the colors would be quite different. So for now, let's just focus on the sunny day. Again, this is a really good example to study the cloud, I feel. So now let's focus on the sky. Sky colors. This blue color, you can see it's darker here. Apologize for my poor handwriting here. Right? It's usually so much darker above, and then it gets to this really light color. Like this is the color on top, and this is the color closer to the horizon. It's so much lighter. So in terms of watercolor, that means you would do a graded wash. Change to a color. You would be doing a graded wash for the sky, where you will be putting more pigment on top and dilute it with water as you go down. That's the way you would paint the sky. Let's look at another photo here. And then, because using more reference, and you have this idea clearer, right? Here is the same, it's darker here, and it gets lighter here, right? So it's the same idea. For the background, we are just looking at the cloud, looking at the sky. And for the cloud, colors of the cloud, now let's look at the colors of the cloud. It's not completely white. It's not like this whole thing. My drawing. It's not like this whole thing is white. It actually has more colors in there. First, remember the base and the shadow part that we mentioned, like the base here. Let's look at what color here. This part is definitely not white. This part might be closer to white, but the shadow part is not, right? So, oops. And usually, what I would use for the shadow part is the gray color that you can mix from all these colors on your palettes, or you could use mainly more purplish color, purplish gray. That's what I would be using. Like even within this shadow part, right? Even within this shadow part here, there are some darker parts, and there's some darker part here and some lighter part as well. So it's not like one flat color. You should also try to vary this color a little bit when you are painting the shadow part. So some could be warmer gray, some could be lighter, and some could be darker. There's another point to remember. And remember, we just mentioned that for this photo, like the light is also shining on this side. You can see this part, right? It's more crystal clear than like these shadow part. If you compare these two parts, let's delete this. Right. You can see the contrast is much higher here where the light hits on it. And this white would be something that we would like to preserve. Preserve this white. For this part, and so this part you would probably need hard edges. I hope you are able to read my handwriting. And for this part, we'll be using soft edges, meaning that we'll probably have to wash out the lines here. Just let it like blend into the background or the sky. So similar here, like the whole shadow part. But this part, right, you can see all these hard edges here. Right, so if I have to write it again here, this is where the lights is. So this would be the white part that we would preserve. This part is still white, but not completely, not as white as this comparatively. The highlight part is, this is like the highlight part. And it's important to get this highlight, to get this contrast out. And for this shadow part, that would be hard edges, and that would be soft. Oh, it's cutting off a little bit at the top of the screen. Is it okay now? Are you able to see it? For the actual cloud color, instead of white, you might wanna use a little bit, give it a tint of yellow, like the warm yellow color. That will give it the bright, the feeling of light, like this part. All these theory. Yeah, just three main points. Just three main points. First of all, is the shape. Then is the including the shadow part and the form of the cloud, and then is the perspective. If you are drawing a bunch of clouds, like here, you see it's largest here, and then it's largest closer to us, and then it gets smaller. It all follows the perspective line. If you draw out the lines, you would be able to decide where how large the cloud should look like, depending on how far away they are from us. And then the third one that we have tried to study is the colors. It's not completely white. There are the highlight part, like here, and then there's this shadow part, and the actual color of the cloud. I hope I make it clear. I'm not so sure if I did it, if I explain it clear enough. Okay. Just want to show you these two sets of the photo, and you can see this. You can find the same color here as well. Here the light is coming from this side as well. You can see this part with the highest contrast, right? And then this part, the shadow part. The gray color is like blending into the background. So it's the same principle. If you know this principle, you will know what to do when you are looking at this cloud photo. Like this one might be even more clear, right? The highlight here, and then the shadow here. This whole block of shadow here. Where is it? I think I have a better photo here that I can show. This one is also on Pinterest board, I believe. Again, the sky color darker on top and then graded that lighter as it goes closer to the horizon. And I'm not sure which side. It looks like the light is coming this way. It seems to be higher contrast over this side. So it's the same principle. And I think we have enough study now. We can get to the actual work. Do you guys have any question about what I just said? I think we spent like 30 minutes trying to analyze what a cloud looked like. Oops, here. And for watercolors, the techniques that would be involved, again, for the background, we'll be doing wet onto wet because usually that will give you a really nice background wash, and you can do the graded wash, like I mentioned here, the graded wash for the sky. Graded wash. Oops. Okay. Graded wash here. And we also talk about where we need to have hard edges and soft edges for the clouds. So now let's get to the painting part. I will be hiding this. Let's put this over here actually. Wash this. Oops. I don't know what is a better way to present it actually. We'll be painting this one single cloud here. We will use this as the reference. Come on. Window capture. Okay, I need to make this smaller to put it on that side. Now you can see my work here. We did a demo on all these basic wash, and I think I have put a link there too if you need any help. This is the graded wash that I mentioned. That is what we will be painting for the background of the sky. Not using this color, we'll be using the blue color. So we'll be doing this. And we have also mentioned some lifting techniques. Those could be used to get the whites back from the wash, which are really handy. Another way to do it is to basically leave it white. So we use water to help us. So now let's just get started. Is the reference too big? Put this here. So I will just draw out a rough shape of the cloud first. Oops. Right, and roughly just mark out these shadow part. get started. Just wetting the palette. I should tape this down. Use better tape. If you guys have any questions, or if I'm not explaining it clearly, feel free to let me know in chat. Okay. So let's get the background wash, and we'll use water, clean water, clear water, to just wet the paper. I will be just leaving this cloud unpainted with the water. So that's one way to do it. We'll do another one that will just go over the whole paper. Or should we just yeah, let's try it first. Or should we just paint the whole? We'll try first. Okay. So I'm using cobalt blue. Clean the palette. So you can see how I mix the color. Okay, I just put the color in. And try to be a bit more careful about these. Now I'm adding some water to my wash and just pull this color down. I am now adding some darker colors to the side, because like I said, if we have the lights coming in from here, right, this is where the lights will be hitting on, then the contrast here would be really strong, and we could use the color to help to create that contrast effect. So I'm just filling these up first. The top of the sky is not dark enough, so I just put in more colors and let it flow down. Now I'll be mixing some purple color to paint in this shadow part. Let's just wet this shadow part as well. This might be too saturated. Let's tune it down a little bit. It's more like the realistic color. And here, just let it mix. It's alright. Because like we said, right, the shadow part would be, we would need soft edges over the side. So it's okay to just let it mix, because the background here is still wet, so you can see the transition here is really very smooth. You don't need to be afraid that there might be a line here. And even for the shadow part, again, some part might have more color in it, some are just grayer. This will make this cloud look more, has more volume, basically. Are you guys following? Now for this part, right, I want to give it a hint of the yellow color. But you have to leave this part white, like I said. Leave this part really clean. Leave a really clean edge over that side. And that's pretty much how you would paint this cloud and give it the volume that it would need. Does that sound simple? I want to make this even more obvious, so I'm picking up some French ultramarine, and you can try to give it a little bit more detail, and like not the whole part needs to have the same color, right? So only certain part you could darken it further to make the contrast look more clear. Just a little bit here and there, but not like the whole thing. And you can refine the shape a little bit if you find the shape is not what you want. Alright, and as you can see, the shadow still looks a little bit too flat, maybe, right, compared to the reference over here. There are some darker part over that. So I'm going to just mix some gray color. I'm basically using these colors on my palette to make the gray. We do have some purple color, which is nice, but certain area, as it's still wet, I do want to drop in a little bit more grayish color so vary the color so it doesn't look too boring. Maybe a tinge of stronger yellow over that side as well. And that's how you can paint one single cloud. like graded wash background, leaving this part where the light hits on with the highest contrast, and also paint in the shadow of the cloud. The shadow part would be having some soft edges that blends into the background. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any questions? Is this clear enough for you guys? We can easily paint this because we have just done a study of the shape of the clouds, right? If you wanna like paint more than one cloud, like the one shown in the photo, because it's still wet, I'm guessing we might be able to use the lifting effect. So let's see if we could just paint a small cloud over here. It's not strong enough. So lifting effect, lifting technique should be is after you put in the wash, right, before it completely dried, you could use like a tissue to just pick up the color. How hard you should put, you should push against, or it depends on the type of the tissue that you use. Some tissues are more absorbent than others. This one is actually very soft. So let me just, and it's about to dry up here. It's not very wet yet. Also because this part, like the color is more faint. If we try to pick up over here where we have stronger wash, that but this part is also pretty much dry. We'll do another demo with the lifting effect. Yeah, but if you have a darker color wash, the lifting effect would be more obvious. So for this part, oh my god, the shadow is not well mixed. I just try to paint in this shadow part again. As I go further, like the bottom part of the cloud gets smaller and smaller and flatter as well. Now the shape of the cloud is not clear, right? So we can actually use the blue color to like almost like a negative painting way, just to craft out this cloud color, cloud shape. And then just pull it away. And let it bleed over. That's how you create this contrast. And so negative painting is also a useful way. It's like how we darken this to make this part pop out. It's the same principle again. And come back to fix a little bit of this shadow part over here. And just pull this to blend into the background. There we go. So we kind of like create another cloud here with all these principles that we just mentioned in mind. And because the shape of the cloud is I mean, even if you didn't follow exactly like the photo, right, it doesn't matter as long as you are able to get these characteristics out, then it will look quite real and recognizable. Do you guys have any questions? So here we go. One attempt in painting the fluffy cloud. So this one, what we did was mainly like leaving this part out, right? And then let's do another demo where we just paint the whole sky first, and then we will use the lifting technique to create the cloud. Alright, I'll put this aside first, and let me just wipe this board. Make sure no water on here. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to do a pencil sketch for this one. We'll just, because we already have done this, right? So we already have a idea of like how the shape of the cloud would look like, and I'm just going to wet this area first using clean water. And again, mixing some sky color. So we use some turquoise this time. Just drop in from the top. Just a greater wash. And pull down the color. I'll pick this up. You can either use a brush to lift it up, or as I said, you could use a tissue. It's quite a beautiful sky color. Right, so I'm just getting a tissue and I'm going to lift up some colors here. you have to try to see how soft the tissue goes and how hard you need to press. It also, if it's like a fresh wash like this, you don't really need to push down that hard at all. Oops. Just remember the shape of the clouds that you wanted to get. Right. Have that in mind when you do this. Right, let's pick up another one over here. I'm not sure if I like the shape. Anyway, after you lift it up, right, remember we still have to paint in the shadow part. We can't just leave it like that. We need to paint in the shadow to give it some volume. It's still kind of wet. And these clouds as well. You should just drop them in quickly. Now let's darken some part of it. It's drying up so fast. Just pull it out. Basically using negative painting techniques to get these contrasts out, to shape the form of the cloud. Right. So you can see a difference here. This is what we the watermark here is because when I drop in this second wash, it's too diluted. I'll just wash it out. Now you see the shape, the contrast here is stronger, because when you are doing the lifting, it also depends on the color that you use. I am not too sure about the lifting power of this turquoise color that I'm using. Because some colors you can lift out a lot of them even after putting it down, but for some color there isn't, even after you for some staining colors, right, even after you try to lift it out, it will still have a tint of the color here. So yeah, let's just leave it like that. So what should I do now? I should do another demo over here, like without drawing the shape of the cloud. I want to show you how I can just leave it white as I paint. So I'm using ultramarine here. These are all the nice colors to use for painting clouds, and I don't think we need to wet the paper. We'll just wet it as we go. Alright. So I'm just like shaping the color, shaping the form of the cloud as I go. I can add in some more wash here. And for this lower part, I'm mixing in some purple here for the shadow, the base of the cloud. And just let them mix. Again, I'm going to put in a tint of ochre, yellow ochre. But I am still leaving this outer line as the highest contrast part. Now a little bit more French ultramarine, just to make this contrast, make these hard edges look even more clear, and wipe my brush clean, so when I pull them out, I'm not like putting a lot of water in, because if you drop water in, it might make the wash look weird. That's another cloud. Could do a little bit more with the shadow. so that it looks like it's there are a few like clouds clumped together. It gives you this feeling. Are you guys still around? No response on chat. So I think I will try to do as a very simple landscapes. Let me see. Okay, let's do something like this. With a smaller end. Okay, so let's try to paint this as a picture, and instead of focusing on individual clouds. Hello, Trinket. Trying to paint while you share with us. Oh, that's so cool. Do share what you have painted later on. And thank you so much for coming over to join us. I'm going to do a very simple, quick painting to show you how you can do a simple landscape like the one that we have over here. So again, using French ultramarine, I just start from the top, and I want a bunch of cloud in the middle. You could do this like really freely. And pull down this color over here. Drop in the shadow. Going through the same process basically. This purple is a little bit too red. Really? Taking notes? Really? Oh my god. Thank you for still joining me here. You see, I'm basically applying the same principle. Now I'm getting freer and freer. I'm painting from my imagination here. That's how you got the whole, like a whole block of fluffy cloud here. And let's continue pull it down. Now I'm painting in it's like the horizon line. With a little bit of green and purple. I want to paint some trees along the horizon line. And as it gets closer and closer to us, right? Like we could use a little bit light green color for the ground. not following exactly the reference photo here, but it's similar. You see the composition is very similar, and even some yellow color. This should be raw umber, I think. This yellow. Okay, so there's like a small thumbnail here, but it's the same when you paint on a bigger piece. Now I'm mixing a slightly darker green color, because I want to get this horizon line clearer. But I noticed that it's still quite wet, so if I paint it in right now, I will need a slightly more concentrated wash. Right. And make sure that my sometimes the brush might have a lot of water, and sometimes I would just use a tissue to tap it over the top side, so make sure that it doesn't have that much water, but you still have the color at the tip. And so I'm still picking up the colors at the tip. Now I can see how wet it is. It's still quite wet, so mixing in a bit darker wash. If you use a darker wash, it would not spread that. It won't be spreading over that badly, as contrast to when you are using a more watery wash. So some random trees along the horizon. Change the height of the tree. When you're painting the same thing, always try to keep in mind that you have to vary the size or the color of the same thing, so they don't look like too man-made. They don't look like they're too repetitive. Right, once you put in the horizon line, it brings out the whole composition. So the tree at the side are usually taller, and it gets shorter in front, in the middle. You could use references to help you with these. And if you want to add a little bit of like the foreground, for the foreground I don't know what to do with it. You could just paint some grass over here. I think I wanna, and I'm now just cleaning my brush and make sure that it's really dry, because I wanna put in a dash of the red color here. Like over here maybe. It could be anything. I'm not so sure if it's clear. If you could see it clearly, but I should. So that's how it looked like. I just wanna put in a little bit of the bright color over here. Just almost look like a focal point over there. Yeah. Refocus. There you go, a very, very simple landscape. What if we wanna we do another one over there? Okay, now I want to just get the background completely. Oh, actually I should try to show you a really simple way to do the sky as well. I'll do it next. Anyway, so let's get this green color here. Right, and some darker green here. I do like it to be a bit warmer in front, so just dropping in some yellow. I think now I can try to lift some of this color off with a brush. So just clean my brush and then just try to wash it. That's another way to do it. We were using the tissue paper. We could also use the brush. Just have the shape of the cloud in mind. That's why I think it's important to kind of spend the time to study the shape of the cloud and how they usually locate on the sky. Like the effect would be different. It's really soft. You can see like kind of faint, but it also it just gives you a different feel than when you are using the tissue paper. Right. And now again, now this red color will be more visible. It's like you can imagine a house over here. A super simple landscape. There you go. Another layer for the tree. As it dries, you can see it gets really light. So let's just put in another layer here. Maybe let's put down just so that it looks more interesting. Basically, the same composition, almost the same composition. That's not clean enough. Now, if you really want to make this cloud look more obvious to you, that's how you do it. Negative painting to shape it out. And then clean the brush and pull this over to get the contrast. More obvious. Okay, a little bit over the side maybe. So the lifting still works. You can see this part is lighter, but it looks more, the contrast looks better once you put in this darker colors. Vicky! Wow, welcome, welcome. Oh my god, how long have we streamed already? I thought this demo will only take us an hour or so, but it's already 11. Okay, let's just finish this page. I want to show you a really simple way, which I should have done it even earlier. So again, doing a wash. Wet the paper with water. Now the trick is just drop in. Don't drop the color on everything. So you know, this is the cobalt blue color over here. Okay, I'm dropping in from the top, and you see how it's spreading over, right? This already gives you this cloud look of the. You can adjust it a little bit, but you don't have to fill up the whole wash. Just let it stay like that. It has been chaos without you. Yeah, we need someone in the. We need Vicky in the chat. I'm just picking up some extra water at the lower part. So you see how simple you can just paint this sky part by just dropping in the colors and then avoid such certain area. And now let's do the foreground. It's easy, just let it run down. Okay. Again, you need the horizon line. To put things in perspective. Actually, this is what I would usually use when I paint landscapes. I mean when I paint architecture and street scenes where the main subject is not cloud, right? When you are painting a landscape, I mean an architecture or street scene, right? The main subject, the focal point would usually be the building here. And then you could do a very simple background sky by just wetting it, and then again you need to get the top part darker, and then just let it run down and dilute it as I go. Okay, so yeah, it's still very wet, so that's why these colors are mixing all together. Even for like after you leave this part white, right, you can still paint in a little bit of the shadow, just to, because the shadow is how you could give it some volume. So I'm just a very light purple color, right? Really light. To help make it look more like the actual clouds. Okay, now again, you always need some darker color in your painting. That's how you create contrast and how you get the shape and the composition out. We're painting almost the same thing, but with different method. And you can see, you can decide how it works for you, basically. And there's not really right or wrong way to do it. How have you been, Vicky? YouTube stream always makes me feel more anxious than Twitch streams. Twitch streams are more chill and chatting. Just doing my own thing. But for YouTube stream, when I'm trying to explain things, it gets nervous. Just some random foreground. Awoke really early, but did not leave the bed. Understand that feeling. This seems a lot more formal, because I want to keep the YouTube stream a little bit shorter and more focused. Basically more focused and shorter. Alright, yeah, so you can see how I paint all these different things with a little bit different method. But again, all these principles I have mentioned earlier, they all apply. Like the shape, the perspective, and the colors, and how you could use wet on wet technique using graded wash and using lifting techniques to get the or negative painting technique to get the contrast out. Let me show another one. That's the landscape. Oh, this one is actually closer to what we are painting here, right? Just imagine putting, after this dry, it's still wet. It doesn't fit to put a windmill here, but just imagine you have an architecture here, like some kind of tower or something, or add some animals in front, like the cows or something. Then it became a landscape as well. So I mentioned I want to show you how this particular method is really the most commonly used one for me. I think I use this one most often because I paint these landscape, these architecture street scenes a lot. Do I have an example here? Like here, right? Okay, this one is not very obvious, but you can see this cloud or the sky part here, right? I wet this area with water first, and then I start painting from the side. Make sure it is darker here, and you can see a sort of a hint of the cloud shape over there. But yeah, that's all you need to get this little background, because it's not the main focus. The main focus is over here. So these are just as a background. You could just use this method to give it some color. Or yeah, the focal point should be in the highest contrast with most interesting colors and shapes and everything, a lot of things going on. For example, this red here, that would just help you focus on this one, right? It's the even though it's so tiny and small, it is still the focal point. It looks a little bit blank here, like nothing to really focus on. But if you paint a tree, a really tall tree in front, or if you add a house over here, then it will become the focus again. This one is not in watercolor, but it's the same principle basically. I actually try to paint in a little bit of shadow for this cloud over here as well. And you can see this part, right? This part here is with the highest contrast, where I try to leave it white. It's not that clear, but that's the idea. So here maybe we could try like a really quick building scene like this one, like so. Let me just, is this waterproof? Do I have a waterproof pen somewhere? So say we are doing a street scene sketch, right? Just a building here. There's another one at the back. And maybe another one over here, and a bunch of tree over here, right? Buildings. Where is the light coming from? I think the light is coming in this way. Alright. I need some brighter color, maybe put some yellow in. Okay, some trees in front. Using this as a reference, but not following exactly. The tree is having the same principle, like it's darker on the shadow side, right? And the other side, you could put in some brighter color, some green. Just let them mix. It's just a quick sketch to show you what I mean. Some window. It's like a thumbnail study than the actual painting, but I hope you are able to get the idea. Okay, so let's say you have a painting like this, right? And then you want to do the sky, right? So same principle. You could either wet it, or you could just I like to wet it a little bit so it will run nicely. So let me just wet it with clean water, and then starting from top again. Alright, just drop it here and there. You could have some skies over here too. Spread it out if you need to. Oops, there's a hair got stuck over here. Yeah, but basically it should be darker on top, and it gets lighter. Put in a little bit of shadow for the cloud if you want. A very light purplish color. What is this? This part looks quite nice, so I'll just keep this part. I'm not so sure about here. Maybe I will just make this darker, so it's like there we go. Now you are able to paint the background really quickly. That's what I mean. That's how I usually paint it as well. So unless you want to study the cloud, you might want to do something like this. But if it's on a landscape like this painting, all you need is just a simple sky background like this. Set in a bit of detail. Then you have a nice color study of a building with a sky background. I think we're pretty much done today. I don't know what else to talk about. Oh, actually, I could show you some other skies. Where is it? Over here, that I have paint. So let me pull this over a little bit. Move things over. This is my presentation that I make. Excuse me. Yeah, so we have looked at some really simple one, and you should be able to paint all these now. Really, if you did paint using this reference, do try to tag me. You could attempt at this one. That would be quite interesting to paint as well. That would be more focused on the cloud itself. You don't have to paint the lotus field. Such a pro. How about rain clouds? Hey, midnight, Germany. That's what I wanna show you guys. So I have collected some photos of these rain clouds, or like more stormy sky. And such a pro. my handwritings doesn't look like a pro. Anyway, again, before you paint, right, you can see the same principle here. I will try to draw that and show you. It's just the use of difference would be different. The use of colors would be different. Am I using the right brush? Oops. over here, right? So using white color. So you, oh wow, my god, the brush is so big. So here, right? This whole part, it's just the shape would be different as well for rain clouds. My handwriting better in Chinese. My handwriting just sucks with the stylus. Use a different color for that one. Right. So you see this stormy cloud here. It still follows the perspective that I mentioned. This part closer to us is larger, but then for the part further down, you can see it's smaller. And here you can see, if you want to break it down further, you can see for all these, right? Here is the shadow part for this one. Here is the shadow part for this one. So it's a bunch of them all like clumped together. Here, right? Here's another one. So the same principle, really. Hello, Will. Oh my god, I haven't seen you in so long. Coffee Apple, thank you so much for joining us. We are trying to do a demo on how to paint clouds today, and we have sort of finished all these demo. And now I want to talk about the rain clouds and the stormy cloud, because we mainly focus on the sunny day, but I'm saying that here is the same principle. Like, so this cloud over here, if you draw it out, and when you paint it, you will have to paint this shadow part, and for each of this, right, you will have a shadow part for them. It's like when you are painting the clouds here, it's just the color that you use would be different. And actually, let me erase this here. You can see the contrast here. It's very light and dark. The contrast is really high here as well, and for parts like here, you could still see the contrast, but I think the here you get the really white highlight. This is where the sun is, right? So you might want to use more gray color, and for the shadow part you will have to use some really dark color to paint it. This one it's the same principle over and over again. I feel like I've been saying the same thing for 2 hours. Like, they look more complicated, but if you are able to paint a simple one like these, I am pretty sure you will be able to paint something like that. It's just that you might have to break down each cloud further to study where is the shadow part, right? Does that help? Okay. And here's another example that we didn't really talk about today, which is the sunset, the magic moment. Perspective-wise and the shape-wise, you can see again, like here, the last one here. It's the same. But now you can see where is the highlight. The highlight is a little bit different now because your light source is here. You have lights coming in over that side and over the top. So you see the highlight on both the top part of the cloud and the lower part of the cloud. But in the middle part is a whole block of dark color. Does it make sense to you guys? Right, you can see this, right? And for these light rays, you could use the same lifting effect. using your brush to just wash them out when the paint is still wet. So for this cloud, right, it's on top of this light source. So you see there are light colors of the lights at the bottom of it here. But for that one, right below it, here, you see it's really dark over that bottom side, and the highlights are all on the top side, right? It's all about observations, really, and that's where all these reference photo would come in handy. Is it clear? Right, you see the which brush I'm using now. You see the highlight. Oh my god, this is so big. You see the highlight over here, right? And the shadow here. So it's this one would be the same as the cloud demos that we have done before, but the one on top of this light source, again, these are the lights where we hit on and over the top part of the cloud. That's why you get the light part over here, both sides there. I will show you the let me move this over. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so I actually have painted a bunch of clouds last year. I did a whole set of them, and mainly about the sunset clouds. So you can see it here. Should I move this? Move my presentation away so I can show it over here to you. Yeah, we painted this last year. I was hoping to sell them, but because of COVID, not able to mail them away. But I have actually select 12 of them and make them into a printable calendar that you can get from my coffee shop if you are interested in. Just want to point out basically the same thing, but the color that I use for the background is wet onto wet, and then I drop in all for the light part I would use a lot of like orange, red, yellow instead of using blue, because that's the magic color, right? So that's another one. For sunset, it's fun to paint because the colors could be a lot more crazy than these sunny day photos. These are more applicable when you are painting street scenes, like doing sketches and you want to have a background color, or when you are doing the landscape painting. But if you want to study cloud, you could also try to do a study of all these sunset magic moments. I have one video. I've only managed to make one video so far, but just let me flip through them quickly. Yeah, these are all the clouds. You see, the whole idea of perspective again, and all the shadow color. This is supposed to be the reflections of. That might be a better one. You see how the clouds just go with this direction, and a little bit of blue color, but all these shadow part of the clouds that I have paints in using layering effect. That's how you could paint. basically it's the same idea over and over again. It's just the use of color is different. Like for this one, the base wash, usually I paint this in just three wash, like 3 layers of wash. For the background wash, just throw in some orange, pink, let them mix and run on their own. And then for the clouds, start with some lighter wash, and you just paint in more layers and get the shapes of the shadow pop out. Also, the size would be larger on top, which is supposed to be closer to us, and as it go further away from us, is the size also decrease, right? So I don't know if you find this boring, because I have been repeating my own. Like it's the same. It's the same thing. The shape of the cloud could be different, but it all follows the same principle that we have mentioned. You can try all the different colors. It's fun to do. Purple, pink, orange. Like this is a pinky sky, and the purple color for the shadow. Still have a little bit of the sky color because the sun is not completely wet yet, completely down yet, and some funky color clouds combinations. Yeah, so I have done I don't know how many I've done. I've done this whole stack of cloud studies. That does look more like a stormy cloud, but you see the same principle. It's larger on top, and it gets thinner, and it gets smaller as it goes further. There could be 2 types of clouds in one photo. These are further away. These are not the stormy clouds are over here. They haven't moved to that side yet, so it's still bright over there. Yeah, it could be very colorful, so that's why it's fun to do. You could easily find a lot of dramatic color reference on the internet. This one is less about the cloud, but more about the reflections and the water. Yeah, but this one is another cloud study. It gets really orange. But you see it's darker when it's closer to us again, and the change in the size and the colors according to perspective. There's another stormy cloud one, and you can still see a bit of the blue sky here, which I think it actually happens if you look at those actual photos. So that one is I get this by just doing the wet and onto wet effect, and paint in a bit more blue and purple while it's still wet, and you see these clearer edges, right? That's after the underlying wash is dry, then it will be like a layering effect. But if the underlying wash is still wet, then you get this fuzzy mix of color, which is nice, and I think it's the properties of watercolor. Just let them mix and run, and they have their own life there. That's another sunset cloud. Again, the same principle, perspective wise and color wise. Yeah, pretty much that's all I have for today. Gosh, 11:30. I think we should end the stream for today. I hope you find this useful. I don't know what you guys think, but excuse me. Feel free to leave a comment on the video afterward. Would love to hear from you. Also, if you have suggestions on like what we should do for our next demo, feel free to suggest it in the comments or in our Discord. This is the very first cloud that we did today, just to study one cloud first, and then we did this a bunch of simple cloud study, landscape study, how you apply on street scenes. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really hope that you find it useful. So my next stream will be on Twitch. We will get back to painting. We will get back to painting this one that we left off from Tuesday. That's the landscape of Greece. Only halfway done, so we'll continue painting this. Likely on Saturday. I don't like, tomorrow is Thursday and Friday. Yeah, I don't know if I will have an extra stream, so likely to stream again on Saturday instead. Hope to see you guys over there. Everyone have a nice day or have a nice evening. Thank you so much again for joining me. It feels weird that we don't have to rate, but yeah, we don't have to rate now. We'll just end the stream now. Thank you so much again. Bye bye. Good night.